So what do we do in our lives if we want to prevent time blindness? Buy and hang physical clocks around you in your environment. Buy and wear a wristwatch. Also, analog clocks are much more helpful than digital clocks.
This is an analog clock. This is good. This is a digital clock. This sucks. So you can see on the platform, the time that the train arrives is right there, and then the time it is right now is right here. And so you actually have to do the math to figure out the difference between the time it is now and the time when the train arrives. As an experiment, look at these clocks and try and guess the time difference between them. I find it easier to visualize and make conclusions about time when it's an analog clock. Here's an animation that I made of what an analog clock might look like on a train station. It may not be the best animation, but it kind of shows what it would look like to have time visualized instead of just like a bunch of numbers. Also, I replaced the numbers on the sign in the digital example, so it looks even cleaner than it would in real life. These are the main differences between an analog clock and a digital clock. Let me explain. So the difference between an analog clock and a digital clock is the analog clock has 5-minute chunks, and the second hand always moves. And so does the minute hand and the hour hand. Also, in theory, you can see how fast time is going based on how fast the second hand is moving. So normally, the second hand looks like it's moving at 1 second a second, but there's certain situations where your brain can be moving faster, and so the second hand moves slower, or vice versa, where your brain is moving slower, so it looks like time's flying by even faster. When you have a digital clock like this, it doesn't even tick for every second, so you don't know how fast time is passing. However, with an analog clock, every second, in theory, the second hand ticks, which gives like a audio metronome, using another one of your senses to keep track of time and to keep time more tangible. And then also every 5 minutes you can see a little deadline. And then finally every hour, if you have a clock that actually chimes every hour, it'll make noise, which helps you keep more friction on time. Personally, none of my clocks actually chime, but I have alarms on my phone every hour, especially when I want to keep track of time. So for me, it's only the last hours of the night. I kind of think about it like, imagine you're going down a hill, or if you've ever gone hiking before, they have those logs that they put on a slope so that you have more friction. Each of those logs is essentially like either one of your alarms or an audio cue or a visual cue. If there's no cues in the whole ambiguous time that there is, then you end up on a much slippery slope where the beginning and the end isn't clear. Also with time, if you have 5-minute increments, you can set mini deadlines every 5 minutes, and then you can see based on the difference between where you are and where you're going, the like visual progress that you make in that time chunk. If you think about when you're making a presentation or you're using PowerPoint or something, you often find that the easiest way to display data is through like a pie chart. Time and time wedges essentially become mini pie charts for the amount of time it takes you to do things. Also, if you think about it, every loading bar is like a visual loading bar, because if you only had the number on a loading bar, you wouldn't actually have a very good grasp of how long to go or how long it's been. Like, no one cares if your speed you're moving at for downloading something is 1,600 bits a second, or like 17 files out of 59 files. You kind of want to see like a 0 to 100% bar that's standardized, so your brain can actually know how much time has passed or not. So if you have the choice between analog or digital clocks, hopefully you can see some of the reasons why an analog one might be better. And in theory, using this clock, you can actually have a better grasp of time, which means I'm gonna miss my train. Perfect. Oh, that was very satisfying.